Hi, just waiting for Vaneet to come and join us.
Hi.
Hi,
Nice
Vaneet,
to
how are
meet you.
you?
Good, good. How are you?
Not so bad. Good day?
Yeah, standard work, How about yours?
Yeah. I've done nothing all day except wait for this.
It's a nice
That's,
chill day.
you got to chill out before you're doing something activisty, right?
Yeah, I wish I got the time to do that.
Yeah, a lot of emails at the moment to deal with.
Yes,
Bi-week is the busiest week.
it really is. It really is. Which kind of brings us on what we're talking about, right? Should we introduce ourselves first, I guess?
Yeah, so do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Vaneet Mehta. My pronouns are he, him. I was born and raised in South and West London. I'm Indian and bisexual. There's a lot more I can say, but I will just say that I am the creator of this hashtag here, bisexual men exist.
Hi, everyone. My name's Libby Baxter Williams, she, her. I originally come from Bradford in Yorkshire, which you can probably tell from my accent, but now I live in South London. I have been a bi activist for about 17 years. Oh, God. Which is frankly terrifying. And I run Biscuit, which is a organisation for anyone who experiences biphobia and misogyny.
Nice.
So, and this week I also put up billboards all over the country, which I'm kind of proud of, not going to lie, celebrating bisexuality.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So Pride in London sent us a few little conversation starters. And the first one, I bet, is a story that you are so practiced at telling that you can just do it like a monologue. The question was, how did you realise your bi identity, Vaneet?
Yeah, so everyone always asks me this, and I always say I don't know because I first realized I was not straight when I was around 10 or 11. And I always say not straight because I didn't know bisexual exists.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I didn't know it
Yeah.
existed. And I didn't find out about the word until I was about 17. And immediately when I found out about it, it was ridiculed. So I was like, well, that's not valid. So it took me until I was about 24 when I realized that I definitely had multi-gendered attraction and I definitely couldn't deny it anymore. And so I came out, and I guess that's kind of coming out to myself at the same time as I did to everyone else.
Wow. So you got over it all in one go.
2017 was a rocky year.
I realised that I was attracted to girls when I was about 14 years old. Well, probably younger than 14, but 14 is when I came out. And I was out as a lesbian for a really long time. I didn't come out as bi until I was in my 20s. And the reason I did that is because even though I'd been having feelings like maybe I was bi from being about 17, I didn't know anyone who was bi, and even bringing it up with my lesbian friends at the time, they would be like, well, that doesn't exist, or, it's just compulsory heterosexuality.
Yeah.
And actually, you're not bi at all. It's just, society's telling you to be with men. But then I met some members of the bi community, active members of the bi community, some activists, and they made it safe for me to come out. So I did. And that was like when I was 21, 22. And I jumped straight into activism. I've never not been a bi activist the whole time I've been out. It's terrible, isn't it? Just sit back and just enjoy it for a bit.
I think I did the same. I kind of like I feel like I'm speaking too low about this, and I don't think anyone ever intended to be a bi activist. You just end up kind of falling into it, and you're like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing now. That's fun.
Yeah. For a really long time, I didn't want to call myself an activist. And if anyone said that was what I was doing, I was like, no, I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate. Because that's like softer for some reason. But it turns out they both mean exactly the same thing, you know. And why should I soften my language for other people?
It's funny how I do the exact same thing. But what's interesting is lesbian to bisexual, which is not something you often hear about, right? You often hear
No,
about...
but it happens a lot. Like when I tell people my story, a lot of people come out to me, and a lot of people will say, well, I'd never tell anyone this, but actually I'm bi. And I get that from older women a lot. And it kind of makes me sad. But also, you know, they found their community, and community is so much of a part of how we identify that, you know, you can't hold it against them.
No.
At all.
But that is interesting because like I know people as well who were gay and came out as bi, but it's so often that people say bi is a stepping stone, which I guess is what we'll talk about in a bit. They say bi is a stepping stone, but they never talk about the reverse happening.
Yeah, and they never talk about how straight is a stepping stone either.
No, they never do.
But, you know, I guarantee it happens. All those people who know what their identity is, know what's in their hearts, but they're not out to their families or anyone. You know, that I would call that a straight stepping stone, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, cool. So have you always been in the community? Have you always been surrounded by people since kind of coming out?
I think so. When I first came out, it was kind of like a very long year of me slowly coming out to people. And at the end of the year, I started entering the sort of LGBTQ plus community, which I then found was very gay-dominated, cis-dominated, and white-dominated. And as someone who is, I am cis, but I'm very feminine, and so you know, I'm not used to sort of like the mask for mask. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. But I am cis, but I'm definitely not the other two. I'm definitely not gay or white, and so that was a very jarring experience for me. And you know, I found more cute POC places, but found that they weren't necessarily that bi inclusive. And I found some more bi communities, but found that they could be quite white sometimes. And so it's this very hard ground to sort of like be both at once and try to accept myself. And I just kind of like take what I can from every space, really. I think I definitely started getting more involved in bi spaces sort of 2018 and then more and more in 2019.
But bi spaces are often overwhelmingly white as well.
Yeah.
Is that something that is difficult to navigate, or?
Yeah, I think so. And I discussed it. So when I was on the panel at Bike Fine, I discussed it as well. And I was like, I do appreciate how they sort of involved more people of color. And I think that that's something that a lot more spaces need to do, because I think when you're in bi spaces, yeah, it's a big problem. It's definitely a big problem.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I mean, I'm as lily white as they come, but when we run beach events, it's really important to us to employ as many Black people and people of colour as possible. Which we've done, you know, putting that money back into the community as well.
Yeah.
Really useful to build our own community and our own little mini economy.
Yeah, I think Lo always describes it as passing around the 10 note between the different.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really lucky when we did the billboard project this last couple of months, that only one person needed paying, and that was the artist. But they're a member of the community, and you know that money is going to get spent on little badges from buy shops and stuff from buy sellers. It just makes me really happy that we've got our own internal little black market going on. Not even a black market, it's just a regular market, isn't it? Because it's completely above board, I promise.
And I guess that's something that's really important to talk about. So obviously this week is Bi Week. Sometimes it's called Bi Awareness Week or Bi Visibility Week. And I think it's really important that that billboard is a really important project because I think there is a big lack of bi visibility, and even though there are a lot of bi communities out there, they often lack the visibility. A lot of people don't know about the groups, and therefore these groups don't get funding, which I think is something too important about talk about for Biscuit. So tell us a little more about Biscuit.
Oh, Biscuit. Well, Biscuit was actually founded by a very, very wonderful bi activist called Lottie. And it was founded as a magazine way back in 2014. It wasn't really sustainable as a magazine just because we had no money at the time. And again, it's really important to be paying people who do work for you, especially when they come from marginalised communities. So I took it over in 2016 and it instantly became like an activist organisation instead. So we still have a website, although it is crap at the moment. I've got my little lovely team of volunteers who I absolutely adore are building a new website for us at the moment. And Lo, who you mentioned, is going to be providing some of the copy for that as well, because we do like to keep it in the bi family.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do a big project once every couple of years, and then in the meantime, it's kind of just doing visibility stuff online, running the shop, because you got to have a little but are you truly bisexual if you don't have a little pin badge that says so, right?
Right, exactly.
We do the bi identity cards as well, which people really love.
I've got one of those. I remember I picked one up from UK Black Pride, and then two friends came up to me with a card as well saying, I found this and I think you'd really like it. And I'm like, I already picked up two and now I have four. Apparently I'm now super bi.
Yeah, no, that's totally how it works. Every card you get just makes you stronger. But yeah, Biscuit is just, we do try and focus on bi women and anyone that experiences misogyny, so trans women and non-binary people, really anyone that feels the kind of sting of misogyny in society. We don't want to let anyone out. But at the moment, we've been opening up a bit more. Like the Billboard project can't really be called just for women. It really is for absolutely everyone. And it's been so much fun to work on. So we've got 24 venues around the country at the moment. The 25th venue is Leeds Millennium Square, which, if you don't know, is a massive screen like the size of my flat.
I've seen the pictures of it. I'm very tempted to find a way to go to Wembley, which is not too far from me.
Well, yeah, we're going tomorrow evening to see it. Just our little household bubble is going tomorrow evening, taking a bottle of wine with us to hopefully celebrate, you know. Yeah, so that's been really exciting and really stressful as well. And I've absolutely got to thank Open Media, the company who run the billboards, because they haven't charged us a penny to put those posters up there. So really, really thrilled with them.
That's so great. And I think when you're talking about Biscuit and that intersection, I think that's a really important thing to talk about because, you know, when we talk about bisexual issues, when you look at the statistics, especially like all the statistics, when you look at ones like from Stonewall, they show like bisexual women have the worst mental health. They have some of like, and then you look at statistics from the US and it shows that they have high cases of intimate partner violence, higher than like lesbians and straight women. And I think that intersection is something that really needs to be talked about because bisexual women are often fetishized in a really creepy way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest kind of foundational issues that we face is the fetishization, like the double discrimination of being a woman and being bi. People really hypersexualize you, and it's worse for women of colour, especially Black women, and it's worse for working class women as well. it's something that we really need to talk about, and it's something that I'd love to do a project on in the next couple of years. Just assuming that real life doesn't get in the way, because I'm also working full time and doing a master's at the moment. So
a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of balls to juggle. It's not fun. Sometimes I just cry into my coffee, you know?
Yeah.
But then you get up and you start again. What else can you do?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's interesting because bisexual women are often fetishized, whilst bisexual men are often made to feel invisible. They're ignored or raised. And
Yeah.
bisexual non-binary people are often erased as well, because people go, well, how can you be bisexual and non-binary? That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't bi mean too? Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you be bi if you don't fit into the binary? Is a question that really irritates me, because first of all, bi doesn't mean two, it means same and other, both homo and hetero, if you must use the rest of the word. But no one ever complains that heterosexual people are only into one gender. You know, when a lot of heterosexual people are really happy with non-binary partners, no one ever complains that homosexual people are binary enforcing. It's just the bisexuals, and you've got to wonder why that is. But the thing, sorry, go on.
So it feels like a very hyper fixation on bi, as bi means two because bicycle. And I'm like, okay, but we've all moved past October not being the 8th month. I don't see anyone going,
right?
October's the 8th month. It is the 8th month. It's Oct. Like, no one fixates on that.
I once said that to a woman at a panel in, I think it was Warwick, maybe Warwick Pride, somewhere in the kind of Midlands. I was doing a panel discussion there, and I said that to a woman, and she walked out. I was like, well, do you know what? I didn't want you here anyway.
Incredible. I bring that up all the time now, because I'm like, I'm very tired with that fixation. Like, and especially when it comes from within the LGBTQ plus community itself. Like when it comes from someone who's at Pride, it's like, it just makes it all the worse. Like, I think people often discuss, you know, what discrimination is worse. I mean, they're all just as bad as each other, but it hurts more when it comes from within your own community, because suddenly you feel like you don't have a space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it must be, so that must be something that really resonates as a bi man as well, because of the invisibilizing. You know, if you can't, if people don't believe that you exist, how are you supposed to find your space, and how are you supposed to exist within that space? Yeah, that must be really difficult.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when people hear bi, they suddenly think that I can answer every question they've ever had, despite the fact that they have a smartphone and like Google's right there. Like it's right there. But it gets even worse when I mention like my sexual and dating history, because like it doesn't fall in line with what they expect from a bisexual person, and suddenly it's like, well then how do you know? And I'm like, how do you know?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? What kind of question is that to ask? Like, you're a gay man. Like, surely you found out some way, right? It wasn't just like, and it's just very exhausting. It's very exhausting.
And especially when those questions come from within the community, LGBTQ community, because you know what it's like. You know what it's like to be discriminated against. You know what it's like for people to ask really probing, personal, inappropriate questions. Yeah. Just stop it. Just. I often say to people, how would you feel if I asked you that question about being gay? And they're like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. It's like, well, maybe you should have done.
Yes, normally that works. So there was this one person who was like, no, I think that's a valid question to ask to anyone. And I'm like, you're just intrusive then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, keep your big nose out of people's business.
Yeah. The worst one is when they're like, okay, well, how many men have you had sex with, and how many women have you had sex with? And you have to go, well, first of all, I'm not telling you. But second of all, you forgot non-binary people.
Yeah. Like the question often gets asked, like, which do you prefer, men or women? And I'm like, what if I don't prefer either of those?
Yeah.
Someone else entirely.
Yeah, I think that's the bi community's fault a little bit, that question, because we pushed the narrative for so long that you don't have to be 50-50.
Yeah.
That I think that we've not gone too far, but people have like internalized it so much that they're like, oh no, there's no one who's 50-50.
Yeah.
So you must have a preference. So I think we got to take a little bit of responsibility for that one ourselves.
Yeah, probably a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, just why ask? Like, every time people ask the question,
No,
I'm like,
absolutely.
why do
Why
we
would
need
you
to
ask?
know?
I don't feel the need to ask straight people how many people they've been with to prove that they're straight. Mainly other people's sex lives are boring, you know?
I think that's it, really. I think it is that their sex lives are so boring. Like, I think the next time a gay man asks me that, I'm going to be like, how percentage gay are you? They'll be like, 100. I'm like, oh, no one's 100. Like, how
Yeah.
much? Like,
Yeah.
90% maybe? You know?
Yeah. Sorry, my cats are trying to get up on the table.
Oh, cute.
I've got 3 of them and it's their birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to the cats.
Well, it's their birthday week, but I'm still spoiling them because I'm a good cat mama.
When is their actual birthday? Is it tomorrow?
And no, it was Sunday.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of visible then. They're kind of visible.
Yeah. It's fine. Hey, pussycat, you can't come up. But yeah, they're desperate to get up on the table and see you.
Hi.
What are you doing, Mama? You're talking to someone and it's not me. How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, I think that was the reason why I made bisexual men exist as the hashtag, because I think, like, it wasn't just really to teach bigots. It wasn't really to be like, hey, look, we exist. It was more to reach the people who were like me, people who were struggling, people who didn't think that there was any visibility. Because I think that's one of the main problems, right? One of the main problems of the community is the complete lack of visibility.
Yeah.
People don't see us.
We've got someone watching from Ecuador. Hello.
Hi.
Wow, you're a long way from London. Sorry, carry on. That was just exciting.
And I think that's the problem, right? I think the problem is people don't think we exist. And because people think we don't exist, there's no visibility of it. And therefore, the people who are struggling, who are questioning their sexuality, also don't think that they exist. And
yeah,
so that it wasn't just to teach people, but it was to help those who were really struggling, who felt like they didn't have any visibility, they didn't have any role models, to just be like, hey, look, we're all out here. We are actually all out here. There's loads of us. Wasn't quite expecting it to trend.
No, it really took off. Well done.
I did it on the train home, and then I got home and I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning and everyone was like, my notifications have completely exploded. I had multiple DMs from all of my friends being like, do you know you're trending right now?
Did you know you're famous now, Vaneet? Did you know that?
And I gained so many followers, gained so many likes, like so many people retweeting it. Glad jumped on it, Stonewall jumped on it, and I was like, I was
yeah. It was an awesome moment, and it was a real pleasure to watch it take off. And it was really nice to see something that really was just about bi men, because I mean, I say that as someone who purposefully does things just for bi women, but that doesn't mean I don't want things for bi men to happen. It means that I'm not the person to be doing that.
No, you know? And I agree with that, because I think one of the nicest moments is to then see you pick it up and do Celebrate Bi Women. It was such a nice moment to be like, yes. And I was just itching for someone to do the non-binary one. And obviously,
and it was so great when that popped up as well.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not my place to do it because I'm not non-binary. It's not your place to do it because you're not non-binary. And I was like, please, someone will buy
hopefully someone will pick it up. Yeah, no, that was awesome. And then when Rainbow and Co got on board with the t-shirts,
Yeah, like that was so great. Like, firstly, to see Charlie pick it up and for them to just be like, "Hey, look, celebrate Bi non-binary," and yeah, that was all like me. Just like I saw Rainbow and Co constantly advertise on Instagram and saw their really great T-shirts and all of that, and I just like slid into their DMs and was like, "Have you considered this?" And
Yeah.
just starting with just bisexual and exist, and then the ball started rolling off, like getting graphics, doing a second shirt, doing by women, doing by non-binary, and I was like, and the reason I reached out to them especially was I saw that they raised money for charity, and I was like, one of the biggest struggles of the bi community is we do not get money coming in from anywhere
Yeah. Yeah.
at all. No
Yeah.
one
It's
sponsors
something
us.
like
No one
it's
donates to
something
us.
like 1%. I think on the last breakdown someone did, the monosexual gay and lesbian community gets the overwhelming chunk of the funding, and then the trans community, thankfully, because God knows it's necessary at the moment, are starting to get more and more funding, and they're up to about 25-30% of the funding. But the
So
bi
good.
community gets between 1 and 2%, and that's like globally. It's the same in the UK, in Europe, in the US. And considering that we make up 51% of the community, it's like, these issues are important and they need facing. And we cannot do that as grassroots organisations. We can
No.
do a lot for visibility. We can do a lot for community building and providing safe spaces. But when it comes to things like tackling intimate partner violence and poverty rates and drug abuse rates, mental health statistics, we're just not well enough placed.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that needs money, and it needs brain power that you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think that's I feel like the problem I see a lot is that what they'll do is they will sort of lump the whole community together. They'll be like LGBTQ plus, and they'll do stuff which is targeted towards, say, maybe like gay men, and they'll be like, oh, gay and bi men. And it's like, that's not helpful. Like, it can be, and I think like there are issues which overarch the two of them, but if all of your statistics are just going to be like, hey, yeah, here's gay and bi men, here's gay and bi women, like, it's like, that's not helpful. You need to break it down. You need to see if there's disparities. And you can tackle them on a broad level, but you also need to see if there's things that you can do that are targeted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's taken by organisations this long to convince places like Stonewall that was only under Ruth Hunt did Stonewall start paying attention to bi stuff. Just that we actually have needs as a community that are not the same as gay men and gay women. And it shouldn't have taken us 10 years to convince these big organisations that we exist, especially when they were using LGBT as their acronym at the time. But now that we've done that, we don't seem to be getting anywhere. And it feels like, well, is it going to be another 10 years before people actually start funneling funding into these issues? So the research is there. That's not something that we have a problem with. It just needs separating out. It needs making narrower. Because all the big surveys ask if you're bi or gay. So why don't they? Well, I mean, I have an idea why they don't separate them out, and that is also to do with money. But yeah, it really makes me just like properly.
Yeah.
I've run out of words. I'm that angry. I can't actually use words.
And it's really annoying because all we need is for them to start making bi-specific visibility campaigns, bi-specific outreach programs, bi-specific groups, and all of this stuff to really help that community in the specific way that they need. And everyone's just like, gay and bi. And I'm like,
Yeah. And occasionally organisations start, like they get a new member of staff. The LGBT Foundation in Manchester did this. They got a new member of staff. That member of staff was bi. They started running a series of events, especially for bi people, doing research, especially about bi people. And then that member of staff left, and the enthusiasm just went with them.
Yeah.
And so it's institutional change that is needed. And we just don't have the power to make them do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Which I think is a good thing to end on is allies. Because obviously, if we're going to achieve this, it can't just be us doing all of the work. It needs to be allies caring as well. So what do you think allies can do?
Well, funnily enough, if you pick up a copy of the book Purple Prose, Bisexuality in Britain, you can find a chapter on allies, which I wrote. So I think we need allies within the community more than we need allies. We need allies all over the place, but we need allies inside the community much more than we need allies from outside of it at the moment, and that might change.
Yeah.
But at the moment, what we need is gay and lesbian people to stick up for us in their communities when we're not there.
Yeah, I agree. I think I always say to people, one of the easiest things you can do is to stop making assumptions.
Absolutely.
A lot of people will assume both gender and sexuality when they see a group of people. And the number of times I've had to correct people who go, "Oh, straight couple." And I'm like,
no, yeah.
What if like they're both trans? What if they're both like, you're just assuming that it's just cis het people invading the space, but like, what if they're both trans or non-binary? What if they're both bisexual or asexual or aromantic? Like, you don't know what they are, and you've already just written them off. And I'm not blind. Like, I know straight people love to invade our community for a bit of a booze up and fun time, but like, the assumption hurts. And I've actually had to catch bi people doing it too, because we're so used to that being ingrained into us that it's always going to be a straight couple when they might not be.
We are, but it's that idea of gaydar and bi-fi. You know, we all think that we can tell from looking at someone what their sexuality is, and that is such a toxic concept.
Yeah,
because you just can't tell to look at someone. You know, I'm not out at work. If I looked different, maybe I would have to be out at work. And I'm well, lucky is a relative term, but the idea that you can tell, you know, you're picking up on these cultural references, sure, but it's not something innate that you can see in someone. And some of us go out of our way to hide it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, for safety.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of people who are in like a same-sex relationship, and they'll just be like, yeah, I've just let people assume I'm gay because it makes it easier. Like, why correct them? I'm in a relationship with a man. And it's like, yeah, but you're bi though. And they only really talk about it when I talk about it. And it's really difficult.
And it needs to be something that is more ingrained into this is a part of the community. You know, people are finally opening up to the idea that the community involves more than just monosexual gay men and lesbians, but it's such a slow process.
Yeah,
it really needs. We could do with someone putting a bit of espresso in it, you know, just kind of speeding that up a bit so we can get to the really important stuff. Because sometimes it makes me feel like that's not even going to happen in our generation, and then I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do to change that?
That's the big problem. I feel like we are so stuck in certain like discourses that have been going for like decades, and it's like, how are we still not over this? Like, we need to move past this because there are so many issues that we're not tackling because we're wasting our time discussing stuff like, is bisexual still binary? Are you all secretly gay or straight? And we're still answering these old questions.
conversations that have been happening for like 40 or 50 years. And it's not even like they're old in internet terms where something that's been going on last week is consolidation. It's like genuine generations of people have been having these conversations. But when there's no money coming into to give us the opportunity to address other things, is it that much of a surprise that we're rehashing the same topics over and over again?
Right. And I think that's also a key thing you can do as an allyship, is one, give up your space. Just give it up. Like, give up your space and give up your money. Like, if you want to help buy people, give us your money.
Yeah, absolutely. Open Media, the company that we partnered with to bring the Billboard project to life, I think that they have done an excellent act of allyship. As Lo said in one of the many articles that we've had published about it, it's not allyship is not taking up space in a pride parade and shouting about how non-homophobic and non-biphobic and non-transphobic you are. Allyship is actually stepping up to help without expecting publicity for it.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing. I think a lot of the time, when we talk about like pride, for example, a lot of the time these corporates will take up the space, and that normally comes at the expense of community groups, because there are community groups like by community groups, there's like homeless charities and stuff that can't march at Pride because there's not space and they can't raise the funds for it. Then you have like a giant like Facebook float, and it's like that's the complete opposite of allyship. What you should
absolutely.
Be
and of course, these big corporates coming in and being in Pride pushes up the expenses as well, because not only because it costs a certain amount to have a float, and God knows it's so expensive, but it costs a certain amount of a working group, but also they set the standard of the aesthetic of the thing.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap to have a float that looks as good as a corporate.
No. And I think if a corporate really wants to be an ally, they will give their money to a community group so the community group can be there, and they will
Absolutely. And not just give them 50 quid in their fundraising, but just pay for it.
Yeah.
You know, I brought the very first bi float to Pride in London a couple of years ago. There'd never been one before in 47 years. And I was like, I'm not having this. And, you know, it cost us £7,000. And
much money. That's so much money.
You know, it's just mind-blowing. It should not cost that much. And of course, a lot of that was spent on insurance and car hire and taxis to places with bags full of balloons. You know, it's a lot of it was spent on kind of ephemera and stuff like that. But it's really expensive, and to corporates, that's just a drop in the ocean. That's just part of their PR budget for the year.
Yeah. I think so. The group that I marched with last year, we had a corporate group marching with us, and they sponsored this charity to be at Pride, paid for people to actually come to the Pride, so students to be at the Pride, and they made sure that they didn't take up any space. So we had a banner, and their name wasn't on it. They were like on our wristband, but very small. They weren't on our placard, so the announcer didn't mention them at all. All they did is wear their T-shirts and march behind us.
Yeah, and that's absolutely the way to do it.
Yeah.
But not just at Pride. Allyship is important from corporates all year round. And if you're only an ally in a parade, then it's not an act of allyship, it's an act of PR.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's something that I can get really cross about is corporates taking over Pride.
Yeah. But I think that's a separate discussion.
It absolutely is. We could do another hour just on that, but let's not, eh?
Is there anything else you want to talk about? I think
No, I think we've covered everything. I'm just looking at the comments to see if there are any questions. There's Skips talking about he's friends with a straight Muslim person who makes assumptions and all associations. And you're right, I think absolutely it is a mindset problem. I think you're spot on there. I think that's the only major comment that we've had. Sponsor a charity, Lush EJ, absolutely. And don't expect your company's name to be all over everything. Let them take up that space.
Yeah. I guess with some plugs. So plug Bisexual Men Exist t-shirts. You can buy them at Rainbow & Co. £5 goes to by organisations. One of which is Biscuit.
Same with the Celebrate by Women and the Celebrate by Non-Binary t-shirts. You can find Biscuit on Instagram and on Twitter at we_are_biscuit. There's a link to our shop, our Etsy shop there, so go and have a look. We are the company or the group that made the infamous Hated by Julie Bindle pins, which she personally does not like, shockingly, which just makes it even as if I wasn't already hated by Julie Bindle. She personally called me, what did she call me? She called me a blue head something. Blue head fake gay. She called me a blue head fake lesbian. I was like, okay, let me ask my girlfriend whether she thinks I'm a fake lesbian. I'm not sure. What else? Have we got anything else that I can plug? Go to the Bisexual Index website for lots of cool info and downloads. Well, they've got excellent downloads there. And I think that's all of my stuff. What about you, Vaneet?
I was also going to say, try and find the Bi billboards if you can, and put it up as hashtag Bi Visible, Bi Proud, right?
Bi Visible, Bi Proud. If you live in, your best chance of seeing one is if you live in Liverpool. That's where the most of them are. If you live in Manchester, Sheffield, Plymouth, or Leeds, they're your best chances of seeing one. And the Leeds Millennium Square one will be up tomorrow. I would love to see pictures of that because I can't get there myself.
And then my last plug is obviously just my socials, so you can find me everywhere at the very professional very professional handle of Nintendo Mad 888 because I'm a professional human being. Thank you very much. You can find me there. You can also find the YouTube channel that I run with Lo, who I've mentioned a few times in this, which is the AmBIssadors. So you can find us on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter. And this lovely video will be going up there tomorrow. So look out for that.
If I can work out how to save it. Because Pride in London have foolishly put that in my hands.
Just click share to IGTV. You've got this.
Right, I'm sure I've got it. It'll be fine. Awesome. Well, Vaneet, maybe I'll run into you at Box Park Wembley tomorrow.
I hope so. I can get there.
And thank you everyone who's tuned in to watch it. Oh God, tuned in, that's so 80s, isn't it? Thank you for not moving your dial. It was really great to have a chat with you, Vinny. We should definitely do it again, but not in front of all these people.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Have a chat with you too.
Yeah. Take care. Have a lovely evening.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Do I just press end, yeah?
Yes. Press end and then IGTV. You've got this.
Cool. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.